You're watching Start to Sold, and I'm Emily Page, and this is Lauren Bongiorno. We're going to talk about the Diabetic Health Journal and why Lauren Bongiorno decided to write it.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too. So we thought we'd start by talking about how Lauren and I met. And we were at a trade show, and I saw someone working at a booth and representing a product that she designed. And she had so much enthusiasm and energy. And I thought, this person's magnetic. I noticed her out of everyone in the entire room. I want to go and meet this person and see what she's up to and why she's here.
Yeah, she literally walked up to me and she was just like, you came like around the booth. Like there was like a line drawn in the sand of like, you didn't go behind the person's booth, but you just like came to the side and you were like, you handed me your card. You're like, hi, like you look like somebody I should know. Here's my card. Like I'm Emily, and just introduce yourself. And then you just like kind of like walked away because it was so busy. And I remember I was like, put it in my left back pocket instead of the right one with all the other cards. Cause I was like, I need to find her later. Like I love her already. She's someone I like wanted to know. So I think the feeling was mutual.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so we decided to talk after the show, and I ended up finding out that Lauren is a health coach and that she actually coaches for diabetes. And my mom has diabetes type 1 also. And so I was really curious I didn't know there was even something like coaching out there. And so I wanted to know more about what she's doing. And I think we got together the next time I was in New York, and you were sharing about your vision for your coaching career. And you had this, she was leaving a different consulting program that she just started, something that she had done and put a lot of her heart into, and was kind of disappointed with the outcome. And we were talking about why would the universe let that happen and what maybe else would be in store. And you felt something on your heart that there was something more you wanted to do. And so why don't you share what that was? Like what you had this vision for this.
Yeah. So it was kind of crazy. I really do believe that the universe always leads you where you're meant to go. But I was doing consulting for another business. And there were some things that were out of my control, out of my decision-making process that, in the end, I decided to leave. And so at this time, I was really just emotional, but it was also really exciting because for the first time, I had this opportunity to build really what in my heart I wanted to really create and to be able to serve. And so my coaching business, I'm a diabetic health coach, and I specifically coach people with type 1 diabetes. I've been a type 1 diabetic, since I was 7. And so I started, coaching online across the world, people, and I hit this point where I was like, I have this idea for a product. I'm a big Shark Tank fan. And I was like, I want to create this product, but I have no idea even where to start. I have like zero clue. Like, how do you find, I think somebody suggested like, oh, you should go online and just like get it, like submit the like design of it and then just get them printed out, and like made it sound really easy, but it's also kind of like, not like a cheaper version, but kind of more like an ebook kind of style. And I knew I really wanted to create a product that is based on my coaching, and we'll go into it, but which is eventually the Diabetic Health Journal, which we created together. But I wanted to create this because I wanted to be able to help serve people that maybe couldn't, work with me one-on-one, or I'm just one person, and I wanted to create something that can reach, millions. So then we talked that one day, and then it was just like, you were just like, all right, let's do it. And I'm like, what? And you're like, yep, I do
I manufacture.
I have
products.
This end of it.
Mm-hmm. And I also wanted to take on the job of being a publisher because I just loved what Lauren was doing, and I knew how to execute the project. And so it was all her content, and all of her experience was so clear, and she had all these real life experiences that and all this stuff out on paper and PDFs that she had created, and it looked like it just belonged, like we get to see this thing already existing before it even existed. And so we decided to embark on figuring out how to publish this book and get it written. And we brought in other people in the team to help turn this into something graphically that you could read and that was beautiful. And so it became this really fun team project that really was bringing Lauren's vision to life. And Lauren, what does this book represent to you? Like, why did you, what is it kind of about the ethos of the book, and why did you feel like you had to write it?
Right. So the whole premise of the book, so it's the Diabetic Health Journal, and it's a 3-month guide to achieving your best A1C. And so an A1C is basically your blood sugar. So it's almost like a blood sugar report card. And for people with type 1 diabetes, it's super important to get it checked every 3 months. And the goal is always to, get it down so it's in a healthy range. But a huge part of the journal is not only tools to help support that, but it's really about the whole mind, body, soul aspect and the holistic element of it. Because in my personal life, I realized how much of an impact that has, rather than just focusing on the blood sugars. Like when you go to the doctors every 3 months, it's mostly just, looking at why were you high? Why was it out of range here? Why was it out of range here? And it's kind of like, you're not really sure. You don't really know. It's just kind of happening. It seems a lot of out of your control. But what the journal is it's reflection. So there's logs every day that help you find your own patterns. So it's a lot about looking inwards for the answers and being so that you could eventually be more proactive than reactive in your response. And so for me personally, like the reason how I kind of found this, I went from being really super just not happy and not healthy, but not like my best version of myself. Like my blood sugar numbers were okay, but like my mindset, just diabetes felt really overwhelming because I couldn't feel like I can control it 100%. And then how I ended up where I am, which is like so balanced, so good. Like I'm an athlete and I just, really feel like I'm thriving in life is yoga. And that was a huge piece for me. So when I first started practicing yoga, didn't know anything about yoga besides like, it's going to be a nice stretch, which it's like, if anybody's been to a yoga class, it's so much more than that. You walk out and you're just like, I feel like everything's like amazing. But I just realized that like the teachers were always talking about going inwards and like focusing on your breath and like, how are you feeling in this moment? And what do you need to let go of? And just really that introspection, I think naturally, like not even on purpose, but just organically transferred to my life. And because diabetes is something that's 24/7, you have to pay attention to, it just became part of my diabetes management, that introspection and that looking at patterns of, you know what, like, why am I craving sugar every single night? Look, I'm tracking my water every day and I'm drinking like a glass a day instead of, my 8 glasses. Or I realize I'm really emotional when I eat a ton of sugar and that causes me to even, binge more on sugar and just all affects everything. So there's just a lot of pieces that when tied together in that looking kind of almost from like a bird's eye view, it's this holistic element, this holistic perspective that really helps you have this optimal management, not only physically, but mentally and emotionally as well for people with diabetes.
I think it's awesome. The concept of mind, body, soul kind of integrating into your health. And we in the Western world know that there's some kind of connection between these other pieces of our lives, that there's not just what we experience in our general practitioner's office, what you can do on a test. We're influenced by what we think about. And so I love that was so clear for you, that changed your whole health perspective. And I know from my own experience with my mom, she never felt in control of her health also. And so there'd be moments when I was a little girl, we'd be in the grocery store and she would suddenly, like she was so mature and strong and just courageous, honestly, how she dealt with it. Cause I was never personally afraid as a child, but I could tell my mom was very disheveled. She was trying to take care of the kids and also keep her blood sugars stable. And there wasn't a lot of knowledge about even how to do that at that point. They didn't have the pump in place, which is a way that you can regulate your, insulin that's now been invented that helps people get more stability. So that type of insight into what else you could do to create control and consistency is, I think, so empowering because in fact, every area of your life, your relationships are impacted by your health and your romantic partner, like how they are going to feel the stability of you and your health. It's just so important. So,
yeah. And I mean, you can really apply this to anything. Like, I think there's one side of the coin that's like, doctors are amazing because they give you so much support in terms of like, if you need medicine and if you need urgent care and they're there for you. And then there's this other side of the coin that's like, wait, they kind of tap out at this certain point. They tap out where it's like going deeper, but you need to go deeper to figure out like really like what's going on and like what's going to push you to make that change. But the whole kicker here is, and I say this in the journal in the intro, like, is it really their responsibility to like ask you about everything, like your sleep, how is your relationships, how is your exercise, how is your nutrition, exactly what are you eating, right? Like we maybe put too much dependency on them, where we should be kind of leading the way ourselves and taking it into our own hands, taking ownership of kind of all these different elements, and not just sometimes even putting the blame on them. Well, I don't have a great doctor. Like they're not pointing these things out. Well, do they have the resources or the time to do that? Not really.
Right.
And it's not necessarily their fault, but.
Right. And this can be a tool that an individual can have to empower themselves.
Yeah. And I really, and I love in an ideal world, I would love this to be in the hands of every endocrinologist so that they can say, hey, your A1C is really high, but when you leave this office, I'm not just going to tell you, okay, you need to go and lower it, because obviously, like, we all know what we need to do, right? Like we all know what we need to do, but it's that underlying part of, but how am I going to do it, and how am I going to change my habits, right? If somebody's used to living a certain way, it's really hard to change that if you don't have support, guidance, and accountability. And that's the elements that I have and I give in my coaching. And I really wanted that to translate somehow to something that somebody can have. So I keep looking over here because the books are over here. So right here, when you have this, and then eventually with the Facebook group is the support and the accountability is there as well. It's that those are the key pieces that you need. So the endocrinologist would hand you these and say, hey, Emily, like not only do I want you to lower your A1C, but I have something for you. You can go and you can get this, or I, have a bunch in my office, take this home, come back in 3 months, record these, log your blood sugars, log your food, log your water, log your daily insulin. If your goal is maybe like weight loss, that's an important key for people with type 1 diabetes. And then let's see where you're at, right? Like that's something that's like tangible that they can give. Right. So I'd really love that.
I love that too.
In an ideal world.
And they come in 2 different colors, in sage green and the blush pink. And they're very also giftable, so that you can give them to someone that you love. My mom is obviously going to be getting one. You talk so much about community, and it's one of the things that I think was a catalyst for the book. In some ways, in most of the ways, everything was already inside of you, because I really think this has been your calling. It's one of the things you were going to do no matter what. The universe like had it in store. And this was just like your next step. But when we came together, there was something that sparked. And I think it's kind of special. It sparked in me too, because I felt so much enthusiasm and vision for what she was doing. And I thought to myself, this is a beautiful like opportunity I get to have to use something I know how to do to help something I believe in. So like there was a community piece there. And what does community, mean in terms of this project? And what does it mean in terms of, as you're coaching people, like why do you bring that up for people with diabetes type 1?
Yeah. So I think for me personally, like growing up, I was always the kind of person that just wanted to do everything herself, right? Like I'm strong, I can do this, I'm independent, like I don't need other people's help. And over this process, and I would say like the last 2 years, I have like totally flipped, and I'm like, no, like you can only go so far, like by yourself, like community, having that support, like it's like magical. And especially if you're a person like me who I set goals and I like have a vision for where I want to be, but the execution part is like sometimes like a little bit like hard and challenging for me. And especially like having people that have done it already, right? So having people who like you had in your mind exactly like, oh, well, I can fit into your puzzle. I can fit your needs by doing this for you and this for you and this for you. And it was just like, oh my gosh. And then Kat, our designer, came in and she was like, well, I can, design it. I can do this, this, and this. And then it was like all 3 of us, our total power girl boss, right. Little triangle. We were together able to support each other and I guess like, yeah, fill the holes where we needed.
Yeah. And
it comes back down to that support, guidance, and accountability. Like I always say, everybody should be like born with some kind of coach. Like you should be like, oh, like you were delivered and here's your coach that you're assigned to for life. Because I really do believe that that's the tool that you need to be able to like reach your goals. Cause you're going to, hit a point where plateau.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that life, for some people, it seems they act like there's no emotional element.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay. Let me just That was funny. Sorry.
No, that's good. I think it's actually like good timing. It's like kind of captured real time how like diabetes affects your every single moment of your day.
And we just had to stop rolling the camera because my CGM sensor was alerting me that my blood sugar was going a little bit high. But take two.
This is real time right here.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that people believe that there are people out there who can accomplish great things without having an emotional support or a mental support or accountability. I think we get a perception of that because we see certain celebrities and we think, oh my gosh, they did it by themselves. But honestly, it takes a tribe of people to raise a child. It takes a coach to help lead a team. It takes other members on that team to help everyone create the momentum that you need. And so, and it makes life so much more rich because you're sharing in the joy, and each person adding a little piece and seeing the same vision is indescribable. Why does community matter for diabetes health management?
So the whole idea, I guess, behind this and why I wanted to make it such a central piece is for so long, there was the key players, I guess, in diabetes advocacy or raising awareness. It was a lot of the kind of raising money for there's three kind of big organizations that are for foundations that are raising money for awareness or raising money for research, but they were missing always that like social element of like really getting, I feel like, in touch with the people's needs, like us as type 1 diabetics. And then for the first time, so I think a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, Beyond Type 1, which Nick Jonas is a co-founder of that, created Beyond Type 1. And I'm on the Global Ambassador Council of that. And basically it's an online community website where a ton of people can just write in their stories, whether you're a mom or a sister or a brother or a boyfriend or girlfriend, or you're type 1 yourself, and just write in your story and also just share in kind of supporting, whatever struggle that person might be expressing, whether it's on Instagram or Facebook. And then I've met so many amazing people through that. And it just goes back to the whole thing of like, I didn't know a type 1 diabetic, like, I think I maybe knew one growing up. Like I didn't go to diabetes camp. Like my parents, in the best way possible, I guess, wanted me to be like, have a normal childhood and not let diabetes like define you. So like, you're not going to hang out with the type 1 diabetics. You're going to hang out with like the kids without, the kids with working pancreases, in the best way possible. Like it wasn't like malicious or anything. But they're just doing the best they can. But I think that once I met like people now, like that have type 1 diabetes, like I've met like such good friends through it. And it's just changed the way that I think I look at my diabetes and changed my perception of it, or how I perceive myself with diabetes. Like it's more kind of like normal, I guess.
Yes.
And I don't know, it's hard to describe, but I just think I think there's community for the longest time. Like if you go back all the way to history, like you have tribes, right? So you have these tribes, and like you were saying, you have families, you have people who want to also just associate with something. And even if you don't necessarily like need to be associated with the type 1 diabetics, like you can have that support and know that there's people if you need questions answered really quickly, or if you need like to troubleshoot something, or if you need to, or if you want to meet up with somebody for like emotional support, or just like to meet somebody and just have that, I guess, automatic entry level, just commonality. It's just pretty cool. And I think social media has like totally like made that possible. So Beyond Type 1, I think, was the first people to do that. And now since then, there's been a lot of different avenues of ways that people can get involved and get that community support.
So how do you hope that the book that you are publishing, that's coming available soon at the end of this next month, and the groups that you're creating, how do you hope that helps form community and helps people in like a daily way and maybe in a global way? Like what's your vision for the future for this?
Yeah. So to be completely honest, I really do believe in letting the people like all like the community kind of lead in what they need, because as somebody who's like I've created this, I didn't just sit down one day and was like, this is what everybody needs because this is what I need. No, like I coached people for a few years using the tools in this book, and realized like I even started with a lot like much more, but that I boiled it down to kind of like, these are the most helpful tools. These are the most important areas to pay attention to. So it already is kind of framed around kind of almost like a trial of people. But I even want to do that more on the community aspect of like, let's put it out there once everybody gets their journal the first week of August. Let me ask on Instagram and say like, what do you need from community support? We're definitely going to have a Facebook group, a closed group for people who bought the journal. And then we have an Instagram page, and I'm thinking I just want to like add value. And so if people need kind of like workout videos and like yoga flows, meditations, or, nutrition tips, recipes, whatever it is that they need, I want to help create. But then I also want there to be this element of everybody helping and supporting each other, whether they're starting the 3 months at the same time, we're going through it. We have different things to focus on each week. One of my favorite parts about the journal, and it just comes from my personality, is this this part where you create every week of the month, right? So there's going to be 12 weeks. You're going to pick kind of a challenge. So you pick a challenge, anything to do with your mind, body, or soul, that you're just going to like focus on that week a little bit. So just challenge yourself. So whether it's like, I'm going to try to meditate every day, or I'm going to try to, eat plant-based this week and take out meat and see how my body feels, or I'm going to try to, go for a walk on my lunch break instead of just sitting in the conference room, or whatever it may be, whatever little thing. So I think it would be cool for everybody to kind of like support each other in that and ask each other how it's going, and just to become better versions of ourselves and push ourselves a little bit.
I like that. Yeah. Well, and I think that the call to reflection in the journal and just the community that you have will give an opportunity for people to even realize that other people are going through the exact same experiences, and that makes you not feel alone. It gives you so much encouragement and power to see other people online posting photos of themselves journaling and logging their food that they're eating or what they did for their workout, because it creates a form of accountability in that sense. And that's the funny thing about Instagram or Facebook, is that you can post photos of yourself making progress. You can progress like, I'm traveling the world, or I'm losing weight, or whatever it is. And so that creates the community and the belief and the feeling of support, because it's really there. You get to see your friends comment and everything. So I think that's exciting that the vision isn't just it's not just a physical book. It's actually about connecting in a bigger way of mindfulness and community.
Yeah.
What are the 3 principles that you keep saying over and over again that are so important? Because I think it's like a really good capstone thought, that just like the 3 principles that you keep teaching and why they're really important.
Oh, accountability, support, and guidance.
Yes.
Those 3.
Yes.
It really is just the key. And I think that even goes to the community part, is if we can't depend on our endocrinologist, right? Or even the fact that if you're going every 3 months, that's not enough of a check-in, right? Like sometimes I remember when I was younger, it was like, oh my gosh, I'm dreading going to the doctor every 3 months to get my blood work. And like, I'm going to be judged, and it's like my report card. And then you'd go and then it'd be over and you're like a sigh of relief. And then you kind of like do your best, like in between, but then it wasn't until that like next point that you got that next 3 months that you got that wake up call. And so I think that the guidance, support, and accountability is really what you do day to day that's going to add up to that result in the 3-month process. And I mean, this isn't something that's going to be for 3 months and then you're going to stop, right? It's not like, oh, I hit my mark and now I don't have to do anything for the rest of my life. No, right. But this is going to create the habits. You're going to be doing it daily. The more you do it, you have an option to do the reflection pages daily, or you can skip days, but the more you do it, the more you're going to get out of it. It's like anything in life. And so the community is that with the journal is that like in between support of tracking and reflecting and working on yourself daily. And those are the pieces that are really important, is not just coming back to like the 3-month check-ins, but like, let's break it down to like, okay, each month, and then each week, and then each day. And you can use the community as much as you can, as much as you need, and use it, in yoga, we say, take what you need and leave what you don't. So it's like the same premise.
I like that.
I know you did.
Yeah, of course I do.
You're looking at me, your eyes are like, sorry.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I think you've got to have those bigger picture perspectives of life, because that's what pulls you through. So I love this book so much. And I obviously love working with you, Lauren. I love just the vision that you have, and I love the community that you're building. And I just love I also love people with diabetes type 1 because I just relate so much with my mom, and I know what it takes. It takes a lot of courage and discipline to, you have a higher standard of health is really what I think you have to hold yourself to than other people, because there's not as much variance with what's allowable because of your pancreas. And so I know what that takes, and that takes a lot of just discipline and being an internal like warrior for your own health. And so I have a lot of respect for that. And
yeah,
thank you for reading the book.
I could not have done it without you. You, every step of the way literally was, whether, you know, I was getting stuck or I was getting frustrated, and you would just be like, keep going. Like whether it was motivation or whether it was just like coaching me specifically and helping me with like what I needed to get done with deadlines and really holding me, you held me accountable. See, like even like every coach needs a coach, every doctor needs a doctor, like it's the same thing. So just, you made everything come together, and I can confidently say that this would have been created, but maybe like 10 years from now, once I got over like all my internal fears and like limiting beliefs and all of that. So you made this happen. Thank you.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Believing in it.
Oh my gosh, of course. It's so exciting, and I can't wait to get my copy like everyone else. And if anyone is interested in learning more about Lauren, we are going to have her information in the show notes below. So you can follow her on Instagram and on her website. And if you would like to order the Diabetic Health Journal, you can go to thediabetichealthjournal.com. Links will also be in the show notes. And if you wanted to get coaching from Lauren, she also has a website, laurenbongiorno.com, which will be in the show notes as well. And yeah.
That's a wrap.
And that's a wrap.
No, thanks so much, Em, for having me on.
Yeah. Thanks for being here.